Hello my dear friends, you're on the Military Summary channel and today we will discuss the situation in Ukraine on the 1st of May. We can say that the frontline pause has been continued, and we can say that neither of the parties managed to take or capture or return new territories in this conflict, in this operation. Of course, there were a lot of very interesting news, but today we can saw mainly the artillery battles, the aircraft battles, and something like this. For example, there was very interesting news came from Ukrainian sources. They were saying that they attacked this island. This island has the name Bile Island. In the Russian language, they call this island as a Snake Island. This island is famous for its famous phrase. If you remember, in the beginning of the special operation, Russians, they throw their fleet here. A Moscow ship came to this fleet and they demand the forces, Ukrainian forces on this island to surrender, but they didn't, according to the Ukrainian sources, and they told their famous, and according to Ukrainian side, they dealt a lot of damage to this island, and they dealt a lot of, and Russians had a lot of losses on this island, but it's according to Ukrainian sources. From Russian side, they didn't confirm this information, and we can say that they didn't say anything about this island and anything about the losses on this island. Also, very interesting information came today from Izium area. According to the Ukrainian forces, the Russian commander who controls and coordinates the operation in Donbass, the head of the Russian military office, came here to control this operation by himself, the operation of attack in direction of Slaviansk and Kramatorsk by himself. And Ukrainian sources, they said that they attacked this area with the rockets, with everything they had. And according to Ukrainian information, they wounded this officer, but it's according to the Ukrainian forces information. The Russian side, they didn't confirm this information as well. More than that, they told that it's a total lie and it's another fake in the internet. But there was an information that was confirmed by both sides. It's some sabotage operation on the Russian Federation territory. According to the Russian sources and Ukrainian sources, in this area, the bridge in this area was blown up by Ukrainian side. It was a sabotage operation. This bridge was destroyed, and this is the railway bridge, and this bridge, if you see according to the map, connected the north part of the Russian Federation with the area with town Belgorod and with the territory of Izium, where the main clashes are. Also, there was another near Belgorod few detonations in this area. I see like smoke in this area. So it was confirmed by both sides that there were some sabotage operations in this area. Later this day, Russian side, they announced that they started the repairing of this bridge. There were no changes on the front line. So today I would like to discuss one important topic. I would like to discuss the losses of both sides, but not mainly the losses of both sides, but the way how these losses are calculated. We know that Ukrainian forces there inform the public with the approximate losses of Russians every day, and I see the comments to the videos that, for example, people there use this statistic, the Ukrainian statistic, as the official data, as the etalon, as the information that we need to trust. For example, Ukrainian forces, they're saying that Russians in this conflict they lost around 24,000 of soldiers. That's a lot, I would say. That's really a lot if we are talking about 150,000 soldiers that were involved in this conflict from the Russian side, and 24,000, that's a lot. We can say that's like the 5th part of this big army. Can we trust this information? Can we believe to these numbers? I think we can. Some people can. Some people don't want to believe in this information. For example, from the Russian side, they announced that they lost less than 10,000 soldiers. Ukrainians, they're saying that Russians lost more than 24,000 soldiers, and so on. For example, Ukrainians, they're not telling about their losses, or they're saying that their losses is around 5,000 soldiers, and so on. Russians, they're saying that Ukrainians lost more than 30,000 soldiers. Of course, it's up to us. Some of us believes the Russian sources, some of us believes the Ukrainian sources. But the topic of this video is not about believing and not believing into these two versions of losses. The topic of this video is about the way how they're calculating these losses, both sides, because we see these numbers, but none of the parties, none of the side telling us how do they calculate these losses. Because these losses, for example, these 24,000 from according to Ukrainian version and 30,000 of Ukrainian losses according to the Russian sources, it's not just losses. First of all, it's not like first of all, and this is not just losses, and sometimes, and in most cases, it's also bonuses for the soldiers for the opposite side. For example, if we're talking about, we can say, some losses of our enemy, from another side, it's some bonuses and benefits to the soldiers of the opponent side. It's normal practice when soldiers of your army receives bonuses, benefits if they achieve some success. For example, if the soldier destroy a tank, of course we can say that this soldier, and if he can prove, the most important, if he can prove that he destroyed this tank, he received some bonus. Sometimes it's money bonus, sometimes maybe it's like weekend or something like this, but it's a normal practice in any army. So if we will take some example from the history of any war, for example of the Second World War, we can say that there was propaganda from both sides, from the German side, from the Soviet side, but it was calculated that if it's not a secret that, for example, if we calculate German statistic and Soviet statistic of the losses of the enemy, we can say that, for example, the German army, they destroyed like 2 Soviet armies. And for example, Soviet army, according to the statistic that they published every day about the losses of the enemy, they destroyed around 3 German army. Imagine yourself, that means we can say that in any case, every statistic lies. It lies to us, and the information is not like this. We can say that these numbers is something like a flag we can follow. And of course, we can say that if Ukrainians are saying that they managed to kill 24,000 soldiers, that means that they really killed some quantity. But I'm not sure that we can say about 24,000 soldiers. And it's of course not just the killed soldiers, it's wounded soldiers, missed soldiers, it's like the entire statistic. But I return to my question, how do they calculate these losses, both sides? And we can say that there are a few ways how to do this. Of course, the most obvious way and the most easiest way is to believe to soldiers. For example, you're sending a group for some operation. They're going to some operation. They're doing their job, and by the evening they're returning to their trenches, to their base where their army or group is located. And then they're coming to their commander and they're saying that today in this mission we killed, for example, 20 soldiers, we destroyed 1 tank, we destroyed 10 mortar system, and so on. And it's like it's up to the commander to believe or not to believe in these words. Of course, they're doing some notes according to these words, but there can be a situation when these soldiers may hide in some village, in some house for the whole day, and then they return and just lie to their command checks. They're showing that they did something, but maybe they didn't do anything. Or of course they can participate in the operation. They kill some soldiers, they destroyed some equipment and so on, but they a little bit increase their numbers. This is the first way how to calculate losses of both sides. And of course, this is the normal practice for both armies, and I'm sure that both armies use this practice just to have some statistic. Of course, if a soldier goes on operation, of course they achieve some success, and when they return, they need to show a result. It's normal practice, not in war, and in every sphere of our life, we need to show results to our bosses. So, and they're showing this result. Sometimes this is a lie. It's the first way how to calculate losses. Another way how to calculate losses, of course, to use some sources of objective control. This might be cameras that a lot of soldiers have. They have cameras on their with them, and they record their battle, and they record the combat. And in this case, of course, if you shot an enemy and you see that, you think that you get him, and you see that this enemy falls down, and of course, but you don't have possibility to go there and check because there is a front line and there is a lot of enemy on the other side, so you won't be able to check if this guy, if your enemy was killed. Of course, after that you return to your base, you show your video, you show everything you have, and you say that yes, during this battle I managed to kill or to wound an enemy, and you can show the video. And of course, on this, on the basis of the video, the command makes another statistic. Of course, according to this information, we can say that this information is more reliable if you have some sources of objective control, like video cameras. But in this case, sometimes there are some difficulties with this. For example, not everybody has camera. It's one. The second, not everybody, sometimes you can't get the data from these cameras because as I told you, maybe some difficulty with technique, some issues. It's like a lot big army, 150,000 soldiers, and I'm not sure that everybody has cameras and so on. So, but who have, they can prove the numbers, and this is another way how to calculate the losses of your enemy and so on. And another way is to use drones. We saw a lot of video when the drones are flying on above the territories, and we saw a lot of video how artillery works or soldier how works. And for example, if an enemy attacks the group of soldiers, you see that bombs are blowing, and like every soldiers lay on the ground. And for example, we can consider from the drone that these guys were killed or wounded and something like this, but sometimes they're just pretending and they're dead, and they're waiting when the artillery stopped, and they will be able to move next. And this is the case. It's also a sort of objective control, but also in this case you can't prove that these guys were killed, these soldiers were killed or something like this. Much more easy situation is with equipment. For example, if you burn the tank and if you destroy the tank, nobody will move this tank from its position. It was destroyed, it's burned and so on. So of course it's much more easy to prove that you did this, because if the tank was destroyed, nobody will move it, and on the map all destroyed tanks, because they're like a flags on the territory that on this area you will go there and you will find a blown tank, and it's like improvement. It's much more easy to count the losses in equipment than the losses in the manpower. But also this not the best way how to count and calculate the enemy losses, because in this case you still don't have possibility to prove if these soldiers were killed or they weren't killed. So that's mean, but don't think that there is no way how to count the real losses or how to prove this. And sometimes, if you are talking about the bonuses, I'm not sure that like the improvement from your video camera is the real evidence that you killed your enemy. Because who knows, maybe he survived, or maybe it wasn't just something like fake or something like this. So both armies, they need a real objective control of the losses of their enemy. So first of all, let's discuss the examples in the history about real examples in the history. How did armies in the past, or not armies but groups in the past, calculated the losses of your enemy? And as I told you, sometimes losses, it's not just the losses, it's also bonuses or benefits for the soldiers who deal these losses to the enemy. One of the most famous example in the history, and I'm sorry for this example, I don't want to hurt your feelings, but it's just an example. For example, we know that in the previous few centuries ago there was an example when one forces they cut off scalpel of your enemy to calculate the real losses, and they, of course, and for those scalpels they got money for that. And of course this is the source of objective control, because when you provide the scalpels of your enemy, you provide the information that you deal a real damage to your enemy. And this so the main idea of calculating of these losses is to bring something unique from your enemy. You can bring something unique, and if you can bring it, that means that this enemy is really killed. And we understand that if you bring some scalpels, that means that this guy, I think that he's dead. Was dead, because it's impossible to bring scalpel, and it's impossible that this person will be alive. It's impossible. For example, in Vietnam War, some sources they say that there was a practice to cut off ear of your enemy. But you can find this information on the internet that there was a practice when one side cut off ear of another side to prove that and it was especially you should do this with the left ear. It was like a practice because you can bring two ears and it can be counted as you killed two enemies. But so there was decision, as far as I know, to cut off just one ear, to left one, and you can use it as a proof that you killed your enemy. And also it was a kind of evidence. According on this evidence, you could get some bonus. So this is of course, these methods, they are not used in this conflict because it's really terrible. It's really horrible. I'm just using them as example to explain to you about the real calculation of the enemy losses. And I try to find out what kind of method can these two parties, like Ukraine and the Russian Federation, use in this conflict? Because I'm sure that they use it, and I found out very interesting info. I watched a lot of videos from Ukrainian side and the Russian side to understand what is the interest, what is this, if I can find something on these videos about this conflict, if there is an answer on my question, how do they calculate their losses of their enemy? And to tell the truth, I didn't find anything on Ukrainian side. I didn't find something which can you see with your eyes and understand that that's it. This is exactly the way how Ukrainians calculate the enemy losses. I didn't find that, but I found something from the Russian side. By the way, if you have information how Ukrainians, what kind of types of objective control Ukrainians uses to calculate enemy losses, I think that we will be very grateful to you if you give us your opinion in the comments, and we will understand that it will help us to understand this conflict in much more better way. But if you're talking about the Russian side, and I saw this not just in this conflict, I saw this also in the Syrian conflict. But when I saw these videos, this part of this video, I ask myself all the time, why is it happening? Why did that happen? The thing that I saw. But I never tried to find an answer to this question, because it was like a question that appears in your mind and then you totally forget about it and you move next. What I'm talking about. I mentioned that almost on every Russian videos, you can see like dead Ukrainian soldiers, and they don't. And on this video, I saw that these Ukrainian soldiers wasn't without shoes. So you understand. So I saw a lot of bodies, like Ukrainians, and these bodies, they were lying on the ground, and they didn't have shoes on their legs. And now when I saw a lot of comments about the calculations about that, people in this channel, you see that they're writing that there are like 24,000 people, soldiers from Russian side is considered as the people who can't continue this conflict. I understand how do Russians calculate the losses, at least the real losses of Ukrainians. They're taking off the shoes, and it's my opinion. Maybe it's not true, but if you share with me or give me your opinion about this, I'll be very grateful. And I understood, and it was also in Syrian conflict. They take off the shoes, and it's very practice. It's not like it's not like cutting off ear or scalpel. You will agree with me, but it's very because shoes it's something unique. We understand that soldiers, they won't be able to fight without shoes, and we know that at least in this conflict you got your shoes. Maybe Russian soldiers, they got their shoes even in Russian Federation. Ukrainians, they got their shoes maybe in Kiev, and I am sure that they don't have like 5 pairs of their shoes for, or one shoes for the breakfast, another for the evening, and another shoes for the storm operation. I'm not sure. I think that they have 1 pair. And you know that Ukrainian forces, they are not no longer use the Russian equipment. You know that Ukraine was a Soviet part of the Soviet Union in the past, and they have the almost the same things, like same uniform, same weapon. They use the same weapon, and now, but if we're talking about equipment, soldier equipment, they started to use the NATO equipment, and they started to use NATO shoes. So that's why Russians, when they capture some territory and where was Ukrainians, and they, for example, they cover this territory with artillery attack, and then they come there and they see the dead bodies, they take off the shoes, and these shoes is playing as the evidence for the real Ukrainian losses. I will repeat myself, it's something unique. And according to the shoes, you can say that if the shoes was in the battle, it's not that like new shoes from the mall. You can say that yes, these shoes was on someone's legs, and this is not NATO shoes, not the Soviet shoes or Russian Federation type. It's NATO shoes, and these only Ukrainian soldier has these shoes. And I think it's my opinion that this is the way how the Russians they calculate the Ukrainians' losses. So, and I repeat myself, if you have some information how Ukrainians do these calculations, I think we will be very grateful for you, because I see that the war is continue, and Ukrainians, they're showing every day that the losses of Russians is more and more and more. And soon I think that if for 2 months there were 24,000, and I think that in 10 months it will be like more than 100,000 soldiers of losses. So we need to understand where is the truth and how this truth and how to calculate this truth. And that's it for today. Thank you for watching, subscribe to my channel, and enjoy your weekend. Bye bye.